إن الحمد لله إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Indeed, all praise and glory is due to Allah Azza. We praise Him, we glorify Him, we seek His aid, and we seek refuge with our glorious Rabb from the evils of our own souls and from the evils of our own, the evil consequences of our deeds. Whomsoever Allah Azza guides, none can misguide, and on the contrary, whomsoever Allah Azza misguides, none can guide. And I bear witness that there is no deity except for Allah Azza alone, Al-Wahid, Al-Ahad, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His final servant and messenger. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وإن شر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My brothers and sisters in Islam, a few weeks ago we concluded our khutbah on legacy with the three criteria that are required for those who intend to leave behind, inshallah, a strong and remarkable legacy. In fact, legacy can be defined simply as leaving behind ongoing, perpetual benefit to others. And we said that the three criteria that were required were ikhlas, sincerity, humility, humbleness, and the third is sabr. Today, inshallah, in a short khutbah, we have very limited time. We will share just one hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We will focus on this one hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and see how we can extract the benefit of this hadith, inshallah, and implement it in our lives, and how it ties back to the three criteria that we left with that are required to leave behind a beneficial legacy, inshallah. So the hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that we will focus on today, as was narrated by Abdullah bin Amr radiallahu anhu. Abdullah bin Amr is the son of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. And Abdullah, he narrated that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was amongst the companions, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he had said, do you know there is one tree amongst the forest, just one tree that resembles a Muslim? And he asked the companions, do you know who it was? So Umar bin Abdullah, he was telling this story to Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, and he said to him that, Ya Abi, I knew what it was. I wanted to say it was this tree, but I didn't. But Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam then said it was the date palm tree. And then once Abdullah bin Amr told Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu about the answer in the story, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu said to Abdullah, Ya Abdullah, Ya Bunay, it would have been more dear to me if you had actually said this answer to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam than such and such, right? So there are two lessons to be learned from this hadith. One is the lesson that is being taught by Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam about the Muslim and the similitude to the date palm tree. And the second lesson is the lesson that is being taught by Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu to his son. Okay? And so these are the two concepts. So we will focus on the second concept briefly because we can cover it in a short time, and then the rest of the time, inshallah, we will focus on the core of the topic of today's khutbah, inshallah. So when Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu told his son, I wish you would have said this, right? Before we talk about this, there's one thing. Another hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that Iman is comprised of 60 parts or 60 branches, right? Of them, which Haya is part of Iman. Haya is something that can be described to encompass many attributes or many qualities, some of which include self-respect, dignity, humility, modesty, and bashfulness, being shy, and at the same time having scruples, which is very important, right? So the fact that the point that we want to focus on about this hadith, about having haya, is the fact that we have to be shy, right? On the contrary, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu is teaching his son about the concept of leadership. Again, leadership, something that we can tie back to what we were talking about in the previous khutbah, right? So Umar ibn al-Khattab is saying to his son, if you know the answer which is beneficial, if you have the beneficial knowledge, and you know it to be true and accurate, then speak up, don't be shy, right? So in order to be a leader, as part of iman and faith is haya, to be modest and bashful and shy and humble. At the same time, leaders have to stand up. Leaders have to take the place of leadership in a humble way, according to the practice of haya. And that's what the secondary lesson was of this hadith. Okay? So now, inshallah, to continue forward, the key lesson again was for the fact of leadership to emanate benefit, right? So if someone can emanate benefit, they should not be shy. So the concept of being beneficial is going to serve as a good transition into the main lesson of the hadith, inshallah, about the date palm tree. Okay? So now the date palm tree, let's talk about the date palm tree and see how we can apply the stature of the date palm tree to that of a Muslim, and what Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam intended to teach us when he shared this wisdom that the Muslim is like a date palm tree. The first characteristic of the date palm tree, if we don't know, a date palm tree takes many years, maybe 4 to 8 years to grow into fruition before it will bear any fruit, right? But after it bears the fruit, the dates, the fruit that it bears continues to benefit its environment for future and generations to come. Allahu Akbar. What is the lesson Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam intended to teach us with this hadith? It is the concept of perseverance. Again, back to sabr, right? That we talked about leaving behind a beneficial legacy. So it's about perseverance, my brothers and sisters in Islam. And you know, our deen, it encourages us to acquire knowledge and build our skills, establish ourselves before we can then start to benefit those around us, right? And so this concept of perseverance is what is incredibly important, to persevere, to have patience, to have sabr. But we should focus and prioritize, my brothers and sisters in Islam, to acquire the knowledge of the deen first and foremost. Because once we acquire the knowledge of the deen first and foremost, then we have our manuscript. Then we have our guiding light to the other knowledge that we need to acquire in the dunya in the proper way, so that we may support ourselves, so that we may establish ourselves, so that we may benefit those around us. Allahu Akbar. So that's the point number one. Number two is that the date palm tree, it is resourceful. It can grow in very difficult climates, in hot, dry climates without any rainfall for an entire summer. Allahu Akbar. It doesn't need a forest, and it doesn't need the normal conditions that other trees in general need to grow and thrive. Now, how is this like a Muslim? My brothers and sisters in Islam, especially when we are all living in a Western non-Muslim land. The microscope is on us, on our behavior, and we have to adapt. And you know, the theme, the trend of today is that if you look at most of the youth, they look like Westerners. They don't preserve the identity of Muslim. If you see them, they are all trying to behave and act and fit into the crowd of the Western society. Myself, my brothers and sisters in Islam, I grew up here. I've been living here 34 years. I'm 40 years old now, so I know what I'm talking about. Right? So it's for the Muslim to preserve his identity and to adapt to the environment in which we are living in a positive manner, just like the date palm tree. And on the other note, the date palm tree is resourceful, meaning what? If it doesn't receive rainfall, it will tap into the water irrigation system deep beneath the earth. to extract its nutrients. Same like the Muslim, if he's in an environment where Islam is not readily available around him, that he is resourceful enough to extract and connect to the communities where he can extract the beneficial information and knowledge. Allahu Akbar. And so, my brothers and sisters in Islam, the two lessons that can be left and learned from this hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is perseverance and leadership. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله ولي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وصلى الله عليه وسلم. So, my brothers and sisters in Islam, in closing, just one closing remark that I'd like to leave you with. Again, we could elaborate much more on this topic, but due to parking situations outside, we have to expedite the khutbah, inshallah. But if we can take away one thing from the lesson of this hadith, again, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is encouraging us to persevere, to be resourceful, and to establish and preserve and protect our identity as Muslims. Allahu Akbar. And also, if you know the date palm tree, it is very conspicuous in stature. It grows tall up to 70 meters. It is conspicuous in stature, so regardless of your size physically, our behavior, our ambassadorship, the way we carry ourselves in society, it should be a beacon that is conspicuous to others and all those around us. Allahu Akbar. And this is the point to the youth and all of us in general. We can't lose our identity. We should not want to blend in with what the shayateen wants us to do. We should blend in, we should establish our identity and want others to blend in with us. So, in closing, my brothers and sisters in Islam, what can we take away from today? We need to ask ourselves on an individual level. On an individual level, are we benefiting those around us? Are we benefiting our society? And are we benefiting all those who are within the sphere of our influence more than the resources we consume? Are we benefiting those around us more than what we take from them? And on an individual level, my brothers and sisters in Islam, if we can grow to benefit others around us, then collectively as the Muslim Ummah, we will start to emanate a radiance of benefits around the globe, as Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would have wanted, according to the hadith that we studied today. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله ولي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن هديت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا شر ما قضيت فإنه تقضي ولا يقضى عليك إنه لا يذل من وليت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت وأقيموا الصلاة.